on Canadian Mortgage Weekly, episode 117, with your host today, Joe Bladek, your local Ontario mortgage broker. And I'm really excited about this topic to get into it because I want to go over it. It's a little bit concerning, but it gives you some opportunity. And I want to go over what you can do about it today. If real estate is in fact going to be harder to acquire in 2023. And what I'll do is I'll just go over some of the main concerns that I'm seeing that a lot of other professionals in my industry are seeing as well. That's really making it hard for the real estate market right now and what we're going to see in 2023. One of the first things is that stress test, it's not going anywhere. Canadians were calling it to be re-reviewed in 2022. I know that a lot of brokers were asking the regulator to review the stress test rules, and right now we're just not seeing the stress test rules change. And the regulator did actually meet on December the 15th to discuss the rules for the stress test, and the result was that they're not changing anything, that the Canadian regulator believes that the lenders are doing the right thing right now by continuing the stress test clients and borrowers where they're at now. So that means if you're getting a mortgage rate of, say, 5%, which is a very good rate right now, you're going to be stress tested at 7%. 7%. And if you're getting an alternative mortgage, for example, which is theoretically easier to borrow on, those rates are a little bit higher, like 6.8, 6.9%. Those stress tests are approaching 9% because of the plus 2% rule. So that's really clawing back the amount Canadians can borrow, and it's really affecting the competitiveness of those borrowers in the marketplace because the prices of homes are just so high right now compared to where they were at just a few years ago. And the rates are high as well. So it's not making it easy. So that's number one. Number two, I have four things. Potential changes are coming. But before I talk about that, they are confirming that they want to increase regulation in the mortgage financing rules in 2023. The regulator has said that. They said they want to do that. They said they want to go in and make the calculations and how people qualify for mortgages that much more strict, that much more, I guess the regulator doesn't really call it strict. The regulator calls it more risk management. However, it does seem strict, especially when you have buyers that have good jobs, good credit, no debt. They can't even afford a home right now because their jobs simply just don't pay enough. But these folks, they've saved up their own down payment, they have no debt. So where do they fit? So those increased regulations will simply just make it a little bit more difficult for certain folks to get into the market altogether. That's two. Number three, mortgage rates are high and payments are just simply unaffordable for some. Some folks, they don't want to be house poor. And if those folks that don't want to be house poor want to buy a home, but see the rates be so high that their mortgage payments will eat up all their savings or all their cash flow every month, those folks aren't going to buy a home until rates go back down. And they're not going to sell their home because of that. So less inventory on the market. People that do want to get in the home, they're just not getting into the market. So less people in the market, less homes moving altogether. So that could be hard. And as long as mortgage rates stay high, payments will stay high. And if we're hearing a lot of my clients say that they think rates are coming down in 2 to 3 years, something that they're coming down in the end of 2024. But that seems to be the most aggressive viewpoint, is the end of 2024. Most of my clients are saying and believing that the rates are coming down in 24 or in 2025. And a lot of people are taking 2 and 3 year fixed mortgages in order to set them up to be able to renew during that time. So a lot of people are just pausing their plans for right now, and that's okay too. And then number 4, proposed income change, rental income calculations to secure mortgage financing has been introduced, been rumored in my circles, in my mortgage circles. I'm hearing that the regulator is looking at making it more difficult for people that want to buy a rental property. They will need a higher income to do so for the same amount of rental property. And those who have rental properties already, it's going to be harder for those folks that have rental properties to do things like refinance or add a line of credit or simply buy a second, third, fourth, 10th, 20th rental property. Much harder than it is right now. So presents 4 very valid concerns for the 2023 market and some things that you can do about it. Well, increased regulation and rental income calculations. That stuff is coming. So we can prepare for that. Stress test, it's not really going anywhere, so that's there. And mortgage payments and mortgage rates are high, so that's not really going anywhere, so we can rest on that. But if you actually are looking to buy a home today or looking to refinance shortly, it's better that you start sooner rather than later. And I'll explain why. What you can do by doing that and by getting pre-approved today versus later is that if regulations do get introduced or there's changes regarding income calculations for mortgages, if you're pre-approved, you're locked in and you're set at those old rules. So whatever the new rules are, you will be set at the old rules and you'll be able to continue on with your plans at the old rules. And we saw that a lot in 2016 when they introduced some new changes to the mortgage marketplace. And in 2018, we saw a big rush of folks trying to get their houses closed before the rule changes happened. So if you start now, you can get your rates locked in, you can get started on looking, and then with the prices being down already 20 to 30% in some markets, you'll be able to connect with a lower price property compared to February of 2022 at the current rules before these regulations kick in. Other than that, that's pretty much the only thing that you can do to make a change. Other than that, we can lobby the government to make changes to make it more, to increase the ease of access to mortgages. However, I don't see that being something that they're interested in right now, especially with them wanting to get inflation under control. And with that, they're very aggressive on the interest rates. And they want to make sure that inflation does come down to 2%. Speaking of inflation, I have a presentation here with some data here I wanted to show you. So the first thing, I have a new, really awesome current average mortgage payment on the screen here showing what it would look like if you were to do a purchase today at current rate. So right now, looking at a purchase, $500,000 purchase price with a $25,000 down payment, which is the minimum down payment, and a mortgage of $475,000, you would be looking at a $2,760 monthly payment or a $1,274 bi-weekly payment. If you're looking to refinance your home today, say its estimated value is $900,000, you have that $180,000 in equity. You take out a brand new $720,000 mortgage. Seems very extreme, but I'm seeing a lot of these lately. $39.51 is your monthly, or $18.24 is your biweekly on that one. So it's a very interesting little slide I've introduced for the show that just shows the rates and how they are affecting mortgage payments today. So a 5-year bond yield, as we can see, it is still trending down since the summer here. August, we saw a shift of the trend where the bond yield is now shifting down. What does that mean for you as a mortgage holder or a Canadian resident? If you're looking at getting a 5-year fixed mortgage, the 5-year fixed mortgage follows the 5-year bond yield. We have been seeing Canadian lenders reduce their 5-year mortgage rates, which is a very interesting prospect because variable rates have been going up. So that's what I'm experiencing here with my clients. We are seeing fixed rates go down, and because fixed rates are going down, I'm seeing my clients get pre-approvals done at the current fixed rates. I've already done some this week. So we have inflation rate, November inflation rate for Canada sitting at 6.8%. It's not really trending anywhere right now. It's been flatlining for the last 4 months. January numbers and December numbers are the numbers we want to see. What happened with inflation during the Christmas and holiday break. All right, so we'll come back to that. American inflation, it's luckily trending down. So we see the peak here at 9.1%, and then we saw the peak of 9.1% come down to 7.1%, which is still a very high inflation number. However, it's trending in the right direction. The CDOR rate, this helps me gauge if a variable mortgage rate is the right feature for my clients. Right now is showing me that I really need to look at fixed and variable with equal opportunities because the CDOR rate has been going up quite considerably the last 6 months. And the variance to prime right now is 1.41%, which is under that 2% window that I like to see if we're looking at variable rates. But it has been flatlining more and more so. So July started to flatten a little bit, went up and then flattened. And then the rate is at which has been increasing is a little bit slower even still, and slower, but a little bit of an increase there. So we'll see what happens going forward. Prime rate, we have a new prime rate as of December the 7th, 6.45% as of December the 7th. We have another announcement coming up on January 25th. So January 25th, I'll be doing a special episode of Canadian Mortgage Weekly right here, airing from Orillia, Ontario, talking about the new prime rate announced on January 25th, new overnight rate, and the Bank of Canada rate announcement. Join me here. I'll be starting the episode about 15 minutes sooner than 10, just to go over some of the news that we've been hearing and go over some of the go over what's happened between the last rate announcement and the new rate announcement. So last time we saw an increase of 50 basis points in the rate announcement on December the 7th. We'll see what happens on January 25th. What do you guys think will happen? Do you think the rates will go up again? A lot of experts have been saying that rates could go up because the inflation is still high. However, we'll see January inflation numbers by the time the announcement comes out. So it's possible that the inflation numbers that do come out are okay. And if that's the case, we'll see some good news, hopefully, from the Bank of Canada. I'm hoping for a zero increase this time around. However, if we do see an increase, it'll most likely be an increase of 25 basis points, which is 0.25%. Average national house price, it has gone down in November. So it's down in November 2%. That is a change from the previous 3 months because we did see an increase, albeit a very small increase. I think we saw 6.65%, 0.44%, and then 1.5% increase. And then we saw a 2% decrease. So almost all the gains from the fall market have been essentially eradicated at this point. It's too bad. However, that's where we're sitting. And the average national house price is sitting at $632,802. Still pretty good compared to years ago. All right, what else do we have here? So again, here's the list of why I think it's going to be harder to acquire real estate in Canada in 2023. So what I'll do is I'll just go over these with you. And again, my name is Joe Bladek, Canadian mortgage broker, servicing all of Ontario virtually and in Orillia and Barrie in person. So one of those changes are increased regulation in the mortgage financing rules. So as I spoke about we are set to see some regulator announcements talking about how they are going to make mortgages different, changing the qualifying yet again, which will make it a little bit more difficult, they're saying, to qualify for a mortgage. Number two, proposed changes to rental income calculations, and that will be essentially targeted to landlords and those who want to buy rental real estate. It's going to make it more difficult to qualify for additional rental properties, or it's going to make it more difficult for someone that is looking to buy a rental property to get in the market. It's also going to make it more difficult to simply refinance your existing rental portfolio. And a lot of people, what they want to do is do a BRRRR method where they buy rental property, renovate the rental property, refinance the rental property, renovate the rental property, and then repeat the process altogether. Stress test is not going anywhere, so that's making headway. It's continuing to really affect the borrowing power of Canadians today. On a $600,000 mortgage, it can affect you about $100,000 from the stress test simply being there or not. And mortgage rates and payments altogether are very high right now. And that's causing a lot of folks to put pauses on their plans, which doesn't really open up a lot of inventory, which makes it hard for people to find homes, which at the moment, because there's not much inventory, there's not many homes available. And because there's not many homes available, there's not much competition for the sellers, which makes the sellers still be able to keep their prices as high as they are. So anyway, that's the episode for today. Episode 117, it should say 117. Let's see if I can fix that. There we are, 117. Thanks for joining me. Really looking forward to our next week's episode. It will be aired on Thursday at 11:30 on January 19th. And then we have that's our last episode next week before the rate announcement on January 25th. And that week we'll be doing the rate announcement on the 25th, as well as a review of the rate announcement on the 26th. And those will be the last two episodes for January. Looking forward to going over what we're talking about next week shortly. In the meantime, my name is Joe Bladek. I'm a Canadian mortgage broker servicing all of Ontario, and happy to help you. You can schedule an appointment with me through the link in the video description below. It'll take you to a calendar page where you can simply just set a time with me in my calendar, and we can get started on your mortgage appointment in any way you choose, either Zoom or in person or phone call or whatnot. And another way you can get in contact with me is through my email and through my phone number. And until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching Canadian Mortgage Weekly, episode 117.